Hi, everyone. My name is Amy Marie Granger Welch, and I am the VP of Advocacy for Hillsborough County Council PTA. I'm here with Nikki Rivera from Families for Strong Public Schools, and I am going to represent the League of Women's Voters of Hillsborough and Pasco counties for this short presentation. We're both nonpartisan, and I'm also a member of the League, so they are not able to be here today, but they are partnering with us to host our Hillsborough County School Board virtual candidate forums. This is our second one for District 1. We've got Nadia Combs here today, and we're just waiting for another candidate to join us. So we're going to start right now with a little short presentation from the League about voting. So important election information. Obviously, we're talking about ways to vote. Vote by mail. You can request it still online by mail, or you can even call them and get your mail-in ballot. The deadline is August 8th, which is 12 days before Election Day. Election Day is August 20th for the primary. You can drop it off at any, as a reminder, any early voting site during early voting. And on Election Day, you can only drop it off at the Supervisor of Elections offices. You must be in the office by 7 p.m. on 8/20 to count. So keep that in mind if that's something that you're going to do. And early voting is August 5th through the 18th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. if you'd like to do it in person. And then Election Day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at your polling location. And are you eligible? So August 20th election is not a primary, but everyone can vote, even those registered MPA. So school board and judges are nonpartisan. So that is what you'll see on your ballot. Deadline to register was July 22nd, but you can go check your registration online, or you can give them a call. If you didn't vote in the 2022 election and are an inactive voter where you registered to vote anywhere in Florida, you're still registered and you are eligible to vote. So you can become an active voter, and you can change your address at any time. So if you've moved and you need a different polling location, you can even do that on polling day at your polling place, as long as you are already registered to vote. So obviously, early voting, we're encouraging everybody to get out, check with your friends, check with your neighbors, go early vote together, vote for public schools and judicial offices the 5th through the 18th. Organize a voting event, make sure everybody has a plan, make sure they understand how important it is to get out and vote for our local elections. If you're having a back to school open house, or even those boohoo breakfasts, or any kind of event at your local school for your PTA, PTSA, maybe organizing a voting party afterwards, y'all go vote together. So why is school board important? So they have a lot of decisions that they impact locally that are very important to everyone here in Hillsborough County. Obviously, they decide who's hired as superintendent. They set our district and school level policies. We're talking anything from curriculum selection, budgeting priorities, boundaries, transportation, so many things. And as one of the largest employers here in Hillsborough, these are impacting our friends and our neighbors, the children in our district. It's an important thing to remember, that we can really have a large impact with our vote here with people that we know. So it's important to understand that only 20% of the voters come out for primaries, registered voters. So that's 20% of the voters in Hillsborough County making decisions for us. So it's very important. Go check out the League. It has plenty of information, nonpartisan information on all of the people that are running for election. If you don't see the person that you're interested in, or don't see the information that you're looking for, you can actually, there's a really easy way to just click on there and send it to them automatically and to get your answers. And then we'll get you hopefully some information today. So I will kick it over to Nikki and she will get started. Hopefully we can get started.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. As Amy mentioned, we have Nadia Combs with us today for an incumbent for District 1. We're hoping to have another candidate pop in, so hopefully that'll still happen. Thank you for everyone that's joining us and watching this recording. Today we have about 8 questions that we're going to ask the candidates. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to those questions. We'll start with a 1-minute introduction from Ms. Combs. And then we'll also have a 1-minute closer at the end of the session. Guests in the Zoom meeting, if you have any questions, please do put those in the chat. The candidates will be able to see your messages. They can either respond to them directly during their 2-minute response, or hopefully we'll have some time at the end to answer those questions. So I would like to start by introducing Nadia Combs. And there's going to be a timer. You'll see it in the top. And when it's going to make a noise, don't let it startle you. Go ahead with an introduction.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Nadia Combs. I'm currently on the school board, and as you see, one of the most important things is showing up. And I'm the only candidate here today who's shown up for this forum. I mean, I am such a hard worker. I am very passionate about education. I'm very passionate about helping students. I'm a lifelong educator. I started my career in teaching in Japan in the public schools and then taught in Hillsborough County. I was district teacher of the year for social studies. I own 2 businesses. One was a tutoring program and one provided after school tutoring in 18 districts throughout the state. So I have a long, long history of education and business. The reason I decided to run is because I want to make improvements in our schools. And you see those are happening. We've gone from 33 DNF schools to 8. I mean, we've worked very hard. I have attended every single board meeting, every single workshop. I'm proud to have been chair for the 2 years. I've done many different things throughout my time. I have supported all schools. And if you go to any school in District 1, they will tell you that I visit there regularly. I make sure that the facility is doing well, but more importantly, I make sure that they have what they need internally as far as academic. And that's the best way for me to really find out what parents need, what students need, and what the schools need by being really involved. I'm an active parent. I've always been involved with my children's lives. I started an early learning task force here in Hillsborough County because I think that's a very, very important part. I've been working very hard with the technical vocational programs. In just a few weeks, we're going to open up our first parent outreach center right next to Alexander. And that was one of my visions when I first came on. So there's many things that I've done. I'm someone who works hard and I'm very committed to the families, to the students, and to our community in Hillsborough County. I really need for you to vote on August 20th and learn about me more about electnadiacombs.com. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction. And I did just hear from the other candidate, they will not be able to join us. Just so everyone knows, we did invite all candidates to this forum. So we'll go ahead and get started with our questions. As a liaison between the community and the superintendent, how will you solicit and weigh input from teachers, parents, staff, and students?
I mean, I think there's multiple ways. I mean, if you just looked at my last week, you would see all the places I go. I was at Keystone Community Center. I was at the Chamber. This morning, I talked to Christina Alvarez, who's the principal at Alexander. All of my principals I talk to on a regular basis. The assistant principals. I go to school events. I'm active. I go to PTA events. I think the most important thing is showing up. And I get calls. I mean, just today, I got a call from a parent at Wharton High School. Right? Because I mean, I get calls from all over the district. I have my cell phone number everywhere you see any advertisement. That's my direct cell phone number because I want to make sure that parents and families know that they can contact me directly. I am here to serve. I really feel that way. There was an issue with a bus stop just 2 weeks ago, and there's a community that's been, trying to advocate for a bus stop for the last 5 years. I was able to do that because I work with the district. I make sure I have a great relationship with every cabinet member. But remember, my only employee is the superintendent. And I've worked very closely with him in the last 3 years. And I think he knows that my background, my passion, and my caring for the community allow me to be a really strong voice for everyone to bring everyone together. I think it's really important. I think we need to keep politics out of school and really focus on the needs of the students and the needs of our community. And obviously a lot of my friends are teachers. I was a former teacher. So people often call me and will give me their feedback. And I always say, I don't know the issue unless I hear about it. And it's very important for people to know that no matter what, they can come to me anonymously if they have an issue or a challenge that they want me to look at. One of the issues I looked at was the GPA, and I knew that was an issue, and that came from a student. And I led that through a student. So I can lead through different ways by making sure that I'm hearing from the community and the teachers and the parents. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Next question. When campaigning, candidates often indicate their solutions to budgeting and quickly find that with categorical areas and statutory requirements for how state money is spent, they can't do what they thought they could. Given the complexity of school funding in Florida, what are your plans to increase public understanding of the budgeting process and ensure transparency of how resources are allocated?
I mean, I think there's multiple ways of doing that. I was at a civic association meeting the other day, and someone stood up and said that we had not had an audit since 2019. So I had to really explain to them that we have internal and external auditors. I think often that misinformation is almost done on purpose. You know, we are very transparent. You can find our budget there. People can come, they can meet with the CFO. Yes, I mean, I came in thinking, just like everybody else thinks, wow, $4.2 billion. That sounds like a lot of money. But when you realize that we're the largest employer in Hillsborough County, and you realize that we are ranked 47th in the nation for funding. So although our inflation is so high, the funding has not kept up. So the issues are, you have to continue being creative. I look at every single agenda item and I look at, is that agenda item, how is it going to impact students? What does it look like? What does the research look like? And so that's why I think a lot of my business and my education background come into play, because I'm able to ask some high order questions when I'm looking at curriculum. Someone who owned a tutoring center for a long time, which I had a lot of success with students, I'm able to ask different questions about phonics. And with a business background, I'm able to do that. I think one of the things that we really need to look at is the biggest issue is our shortage of teachers. And how are we going to be able to look at our budget and work within that? So when I look at facilities, I brought this up. I'm the first person to bring it up, looking at facilities and then doing some affordable housing for teachers. So that way we can recruit that. So although we're in categorical funds, we need to be creative and be innovative on how we can use those categorical funds to help strengthen our public schools.
Thank you. Our next question, also related to budget. What principles will you apply to evaluating recommendations for the superintendent with regard to which programs to reduce in a time of constrained funding?
I mean, I have done that since the day I was elected. I mean, you'll see board items that have never come up because of the background and the questions I ask. And sometimes those items are dropped. I don't care if it's $10,000 or 50,000 or $100,000. I look at I mean, as a matter of fact, my agenda items are sitting here right next to me. And I spend hours and hours looking at every single contract. You know, some of the times I think some online programs, if they're not used wisely, but honestly, we're kind of bare. You know, there's not a lot of money there. So we really what we're looking at is federal grants. What we're looking at is getting community engagement and getting them involved. When I look at West Tampa, who went from an F to a D and from a C now to an A, what you see is that there was not additional money, but all of a sudden there were community members. All of a sudden there was a PTA that was created. So I think we have to be innovative in trying to find outside sources if the state's not going to fund us. But as far as reducing any programs, I mean, probably our biggest expense right now is technology, but we're so behind. So I look at every item and I think probably more technology, but what do we do when we're not one to one and we're still very behind? So I think the importance is really looking at every single budget, and realizing and communicating all of that information to our parents, to our community members, because I think it's very misleading. I mean, I think that people still think that we get money from the lottery. I mean, we wish that occurred. I think people think that we have millions and millions of dollars. You know, as you know, years ago, we were in debt. We went into a deficit. We had to take a TAN note just to be able to do payroll. So I want to make sure we are making fiscally sound decisions, and that means looking at every single agenda item. So I can't pick one. I've just got to look at every single one and see how I can bring the money back to the schools.
Thank you. Our
I
next
like the music.
Our next question is related to teacher shortages. HCPS anticipates starting the year with approximately 500 teacher vacancies, and teachers' morale is at its lowest point ever. What will you do to ensure the district recruits and retains highly qualified personnel in all positions? And will you consider lowering educator certification standards to fill these positions?
Well, I have to say that's probably one of the things that keeps me up most at night. I mean, especially when the highest vacancy is in Tampa Bay Boulevard in District 1. It really keeps me up. We have to do something. I mean, first of all, we need to not just attract, but retain, because I think years ago we did attract teachers, but they stayed longer. Teachers are staying shorter. So we have to keep fighting on a state level and making sure that people know when people fought very hard for nurses, guess what? They received a raise. And that's why a lot of people, young people who used to be teachers, now they're going into the nursing field. We need to make education and teaching a priority and important to people. That means paying people, but also um, improving what's going on in their classroom, not providing so much additional work for teachers. I mean, most teachers do have an additional job. So not only are they going home with work to do, but then they're also working another job. That's a problem. You know, I worked in Japan for many years where, you know, teachers were at the very top of the hierarchy and they were very respected. So I think as a community, we need to make sure that we value our teachers. We talk about the importance of teachers and we try to pay teachers. And if we can't pay them, then we need to keep pushing to the legislator. We need to keep pushing to the governor to make sure that we pay, and we need to keep informing people. And then we need to improve the work. We need to make sure that teachers are not provided so much additional work and really try to take some of that off of the principals so that way they can really focus on the students. I think working together and trying to create less work for teachers will help them be able to focus more on their students and will help increase academic gains and as well as increase overall our students doing well in life. So I think affordable housing is one idea of having teachers in the urban core. I think making sure teachers have a lot of flex time if we can. And I think we really need to be innovative. I'm on the USF Dean's Advisory Council. We need to look at things a little differently, the College of Education.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you so much. Okay, our next question is related to safety. School safety is an increasing concern, both from external threats and from behavioral issues within the classroom. What needs to be done to create a safe environment for students and staff, and which stakeholders should be included in security planning?
I mean, I think we're very lucky. Our head of security is just amazing. We have a great security team in Hillsborough County, but we live in America now, and you know that anything can happen anywhere. I mean, and that's the fact. So what we need to do is see something, say something has been very important. Making sure that students are communicating, and that's why having that SRO officer and building that relationship so that way students are able to go to resource officers or go to their local police. I think making sure that we're working with TPD, Tampa Bay, as well as the sheriff's office, all of us working together. And we do. Our security team all works together. We receive a lot of security briefing. We have a lot of internal and external plans in place for that. And the best thing is, I think, is communication and continue to working with our community members and continue working with students. It is a very difficult time. I think in my district alone, I think I had 4 student fatalities last year, which is a lot. None of them in school, as young as 5th grade, and one out in the woods. I mean, it's really sad what's happening. I think it's really educating kids with guns. One of the things that I led was the Be Smart campaign, which is basically telling parents to make sure that you lock your guns up. that most of the kids are getting access to guns is from basically cars and homes. And when things occur, it's usually because those guns are not locked up. So Be Smart is a PSA. It's a nonprofit that I've worked with Melissa Ransdell and Grace Hutchinson. And I did a public service announcement with Chronister and Chief Burkhaw and the superintendent. And I've shared that. And I have been sending things on a regular basis through PTA, through schools. So I've been really working on a grassroots campaign to make sure not only our schools, but our communities are safer as well.
Yeah. Our next question is related to book access. If a parent asks that a book be removed from the library or the classroom, what is the current process for reviewing the book? And are Hillsborough's processes for book reviews effective?
I mean, I am really proud of our librarians. There are districts that are right next to us that don't have certified teachers. Not only have our teachers certified librarians, but they also possess master's degree. I tell parents all the time, if you're concerned, please come to our school, come to our elementary school, come to our middle school, come to our high school. I mean, the most important thing is there has to be a process. I'm very proud that Hillsborough County is one of the few districts that is not impending with an impending lawsuit with books. We also have a process that has worked so effectively that multiple districts have been asking us, what have you done to make sure that parents' voices are heard, but also the voices of education are heard. And there's a process. If you look at some counties like Escambia County where they took 1,200 books out, or you see districts that they've taken hundreds of books out and they go back and forth and there's fighting, we don't have that. If you're a parent and you're concerned about a book, what you do is there's a challenge process. It's available online in Hillsborough County. We're very transparent. Go in, fill out that document, challenge the book, and there's a process. There's a process that starts at the school level, then it will go to the district level, and then finally it will go to the school board level. And so we must look, we can't think about just today. We've got to look at 5 and 10 years from now. And having a process is critical. If you don't have a process, what happens 10 years from now? I mean, I had someone talk about challenging the Bible. I mean, what happens if you don't have a process? You've got to have a process. This is America. This is democracy. And we want to hear from parents. We want to hear from community members, but there must be a process. And I truly believe in that.
Thank you. Our next question is related to equity. How can the school district effectively partner with parents, families, and the community to support student and school success, especially in our underserved communities?
I mean, I think all of you, Amy Marie, and all of you have done a great job with that. I mean, I look at West Tampa and I see the results. I remember when I first was elected, there was no PTA in that school. And all of you came in and formed this PTA, and teachers came and outside. And just yesterday at the chamber, I saw somebody who's been a partner with West Tampa and helped put a mural and all types of things. It requires us working together. It requires making sure that we get the best teachers in front of our urban schools. I say this often in some of the schools in the suburbs. If there's a vacancy, we may get a teacher within 2 weeks. And some of the urban schools are, if you lose a teacher, you may not get a teacher back. So it's really important that we're partnering with families and community members. And I say this when I provided after school tutoring. I remember meeting a mother and she was amazing and she loved her kids. And I sat down with her and I said to her, a mile up the road is a library. You should go get books every day and read to your kids. And she said, you know what? I never thought of that. I have 2 or 3 jobs. That never crossed my mind. And it's really educating parents and helping parents and telling parents like what resources are available. If there's a food pantry, if there's food insecurities, like how do we stabilize families? And that's through communicating with them. And I think most parents, parents want the best for kids and parents decide what they want for their children, but let's provide them information like, hey, go to the library, or you can do this, or maybe ask higher order questions. Even my niece, who went to college and has a master's degree, I've been asking her daughter high order questions when she's reading, and she's like, wow, I never thought of that. Because sometimes we don't think of that. So we want to guide and help people so that way they can support their family and their children.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more question for the official forum, but we do have a couple guest questions as well. So we're
Okay.
asking a few
Licky.
afterwards. The last question is related to ESE. How do you evaluate the effectiveness of the school district's current programs and services for special education and gifted students? What changes or improvements would you advocate for to better serve our students?
I mean, absolutely. The first thing we need, I'm sorry, is to have more people. Our ESC vacancies are much too high. They really are, and we're working very, very hard with that. We are also trying to recruit paraprofessionals, and we're really trying to make sure that parents are advocating. And I'm really excited because our new ESC, Dr. Lesperance, she's amazing. She has created all these different videos and all this information to help parents be able to advocate for themselves. It's very important that we provide parents the tools so that way they can have a stronger voice in our schools. So as a parent, when I mean, I have two children. I had one child where I had to advocate for and make sure that they had a 504, and going through the process taught me a lot. I think giving parents those tools and letting them know the importance of those tools are really great. The other thing I learned is that sometimes there's misinformation. Parents feel like if your child is labeled as special needs, that they're not going to have those same opportunities, or that they can't go to college, or all of a sudden their ceiling is limited. It's the opposite of that. We want to teach parents that, sometimes your child may need some extra time. They may not need it in sixth grade, but when they go to high school and those tests really count, you need to put those systems in place. So it's really about giving parents those tools so that way they know what they need long term for their children, so that way they can advocate for their children, that way they can have the knowledge of the 504 and IEP. I think the biggest issue is that we just have a gap of recruiting and finding ESC students. We've got to make sure that those students are getting the systems that they have and really training them on different challenges, because we do have a really increasing rise. I will say that's one of the biggest surprises for me as a former teacher. When you go to school, the number of ESC students that we have, and it continues to rise.
Thank you for the response. Okay. We have a few questions from the audience
Okay.
first, and we'll give you 2 minutes to respond to these as well. The first one, what policy have you or will you push to ensure the educational progress of Latino and Black students?
Gosh, I've as far as the policies and all of those, I think it comes with the student code of conduct and kind of working on that and making sure that students have a second opportunity. I think it's really important that kids make mistakes, and we make sure that those mistakes aren't something that are going to impact them or affect them later on in life. I think one of the things, I'll be honest, when I came on, I had these ideas of reducing texting and all these other ideas. And when I came here, I realized that there are some other much higher needs. Like, for example, our Hispanic leadership. We need to improve on that. I see a lot of, if as a Hispanic, you see a lot of people who are in the custodian or in the lunchroom staff, but I want to see more principals. I want to see more leaders. When 40% of our students are Hispanic, we need to make sure that they are seeing people who are successful. Not that you're not successful if you're not a custodian, of course, but I'm saying overall we need to see higher leadership and to see people who look like them, and also to make sure that students are receiving um, the background, the information to support, so people understand different cultures and different ways. I mean, like, for example, if you don't understand anything about Sikh Indians, you wouldn't understand that they don't cut their hair. I think it's very important to educate people on diversity, on different people, and how to live. So it is really important to educate our staff, our leadership on different students, different families, and different needs. Because as America, you know, we are all very unique and we are all very different. And more, you're seeing a lot of diversity in our students, and we need to make sure that those students' voices and those parents' voices are being heard.
Thank you. Okay, and this one's a little bit long, but I'm going to give you the context. So we have Tamara Perez joining us. She says that she represents nearly 1,500 members of a group called Project ABA, ABA being Applied Behavioral Analysis.
Yes.
She would like to get your take on ABA therapy in public schools. So what is your position on ABA therapy in our public schools?
Well, first, Ms. Press, thank you for being an advocate, because I think it's really important when this is exactly what I'm talking about is the voices of parents. I mean, that's what I'm here for. I'm here for the voices of parents, for our teachers. I completely support that. I remember that when I was struggling with my child, making sure somebody could come in the classroom and observe them, because some of the things that I saw, maybe other people didn't see. So I think it's very important. You know, I wish that more parents had those resources, but the parents that are able to have those resources, I want to make sure they're able to use that for their classroom. I think we need to work side by side with our schools. I mean, there is nothing more important than our children. I would walk barefoot and let my kids have a great pair of shoes. I mean, that's just how it is, right? So I think making sure those parents, so I completely support you, Ms. Perez. I completely support you fighting to make sure that we have those resources in the schools. I think they not only help that personal child, but they help the entire classroom, because I think it helps other students understand. It also helps that child be more successful with the classroom. So I think it benefits the entire classroom. So thank you for that question, and thank you for your advocacy.
Thank you for that answer. Alrighty, so we have no other questions in the chat. I'm gonna pop it over to Amy Marie to close us out. If any other questions come up, please do go ahead and add them to the chat, and we will ask Ms. Combs to respond via email. Amy?
Thank you so much, Nikki. I just want to make sure everybody knows how to get information on all of the different candidates in a nonpartisan way. Vote411.org is funded by the League of Women Voters. It's a great way to register to vote, check your registration, and find out what's on your ballot. You can get personalized voting information. Explore by state. So if you have friends that are in other states that are looking for stand, how
Ms. Combs, if you would like to take 1 minute to give us a closing.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to say, you know, I'm a lifelong educator with a strong background in business and education. I say this, I mean, I drive a 2008 with 250,000 miles because I have a heart for kids. You know, I have never, ever felt such passion in what I do. I mean, I care so much about our kids. I care so much about our schools. I care so much about parents. When I ran in 2020, I had no idea that the world would go crazy and school board would become so political. You know, so I just try to keep that away, and I just focus on what we can do to better serve our teachers, our students, our parents, and our families. I am your school board member. I am committed to 4 more years. I am committed to working hard in our schools, in our district, and just continuing strengthening all schools. I am available for anyone. I mean, I met someone today for homeschool, and I was like, listen, I will help you. I want to help anyone, because at the end of the day, our students are our biggest asset. We've got to work on making sure they get a great education.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Amy, do you have any closing words before we end the meeting?
I don't, just get out and vote. Make sure you check with your friends, your family, strangers, whoever, and make sure they know the importance of voting in our local elections and how to get information so that they can get educated on what is important to them. So that's it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank
being here,
you, Ms.
everybody.
Combs, for joining us. Thank you, guests. We hope to see you at our next candidate forum on August 5th. The district is number, Amy? 3, I believe.
I believe
Great.
it's 3.
Join us on August 5th. Thanks so
Oh
much,
my God.
everyone. Have a good day.